Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Like a New Yorker. First of all, I want to thank you for your support. It's been overwhelming. And remember, if you like this video, to hit that like button, and also to share the video and to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. And this is going to be a special episode because we got the exclusive interview with Scarlet Rivera, who was Bob Dylan violinist when he started his career. So he was with him during the Rolling Thunder Review concert in 1975, and she was the breakthrough artist who basically brought a violin in rock and pop. Until that moment, violin was exclusively a classical instrument, and she was the one who was the first who basically introduced violin in this genre. And the Bob Dylan style, of course, is ballads, is social engagement and involvement at that time was what basically was a perfect marriage with her style. And when you listen to her album, you will definitely recognize that unique flavor in Bob Dylan early music and style. So the occasion is the release of the first EP of Scarlet, which she also sings. So not only she performs as a violinist, but also she sings in this EP that features 6 tracks. The name of the EP, the title, is All of Me. That is the song that also gives the name to the album. And then there are some other very important songs like Dust Ball and Lady Liberty, the song that Scarlett told us that she has a particular attachment, a particular involvement, and she is going to explain why. So of course it's an impressive career. I need to look up here to the material that they sent me, and so basically the producer of this album is Tim Goodman, who also plays guitars in this album. And Tim Goodman was able to put together this impressive lineup of musicians. Hear me out. You have Mike Finnegan on keys, who played with Crosby, Stills and Nash and Jimi Hendrix. Then Steve Ferrone on drums, Jimmy Haslip on bass, and then, as I said, Tim Goodman and Delaney Pickering on guitars. And the pictures you will see in this interview, because this is another interview, but you will see the cover of the album. Some pictures that Scarlett took during her last performance in Italy, and some of the members of the band and Tim Goodman himself. So without further ado, I will leave you at the interview. And of course, please, if you like it, hit the like button, share the interview if you enjoyed it, and remember to subscribe our channel. For the moment, that's all, guys. Thank you, and see you next time. It is an impressive career. And to me it's special because Desire came out in 1976, which is the year I was born. So it puts me back on what kind of cultural environment I was conceived. So for me it's really amazing because that era in music was special, and to me, when I look at an artist like you, it's amazing to see that your life and your career basically provided those tools for your toolbox that made you what you are today. And then this album is so great because it's the result of this experience and all these tools that you put in your bag, over your career. Yeah. Of course, impressive career, and we're going to go a little bit over it. But what is important, and this is your vocal debut. Yes. This EP has 6 tracks, and you are releasing Dust Ball, right? This is going to be the first release. Yes. And then I understand that, of course, the song that gives the title to the EP is Allow Me. And then that there is a song in particular that you feel more connected, which is Lady Liberty. So let's talk about how you come up with the concept of this project. What gave you the the push, the motivation to come up with your first vocal project?
Well, I have been actually content my whole life and thought of myself as an instrumentalist, not a vocalist. I really did not see myself in the the very typical female front singer kind of role, which is a very pretty competitive role, I must say.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of scrutiny, and you're kind of almost put in a pop culture persona if you step into that, I thought. But I realized also, because of who I am, I can step into it in my own way. I don't have to step into it as the box of the young, female, pop star that,
Sure.
that has typical expectations. So I kind of am free because of my history, that I can put some of, as you say, the toolbox of the culture and the wisdom and the activists part of that the culture that I came from and that I was a part of personally into these songs. And I couldn't do it instrumentally. I finally came to a point where I said, it is time that I speak and write.
Sure. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And so when you realized that you needed to literally give a voice to your feelings and thoughts, then of course, unfortunately, especially music is about the execution. So you have to compose this music, you have to write the lyrics, and then of course find your fellow musicians that can support you in your project. So can you go a little bit over these three different steps, which is the lyrics, the music, and then the band? Of course, here we have to mention producer Tim Goodman, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
It kind of started with my relationship with Tim Goodman, because he was encouraging me. I was just at the beginning of singing, and mostly, backup singing and background singing in Americana bands, which not a lot of pressure. It's not, mainstream, image doing Americana. Especially if you're not doing it in a major way. I was just doing it to learn Americana songs, and so I was getting some comfort in comfort zone and singing back the harmonies, because I love singing harmony and I have perfect pitch, and but I still was reluctant to step into that vocal lead part. And so slowly my band members said, well, if you're in the band, you have to sing at least one vocal lead. So I little bit by a little bit got pushed into the lead, reluctantly. And
but then you liked it. Right?
I began to like it. And then Tim and I started writing some songs, and I started writing songs that I brought to him. And that he contributed some lyrics to, and then we conceived of the idea of taking it actually not all at once to an EP, but just song by song. It kind of gradually led to this result.
And that's kind of the magic and mojo, right? That needs to happen. That at the beginning of the creative process, you don't know, right?
No.
But then you see that it takes basically its own life. And then somehow then you have to do it, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's always a kind of miracle when it happens.
Yeah.
So
a lot of people do it the other way around. Like, I want to do this, and they see it crystal clear up front, and but in this case, it was a gradual process, and now it is fully formed and ready to fly.
Okay.
Also, wonderful musicians on it, of course, as you saw.
I saw the lineup. Yeah,
Yeah.
really impressive.
Yes.
Okay, so the both the lyrics and the music was this ongoing process, really like mutual between you and Tim.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
and then these musicians were already people you were playing with, right?
Well, we didn't play with them directly, but we have among us we have access to and these are our peers and our contemporaries that we know each other. So it was not difficult to knock on their door and ask if they were interested in playing on one or two cuts, and we found that they were all quite impressed with the tracks prior to them being on it.
Okay.
And they all said yes, which was great. Steve Ferroni on drums and Jimmy Hassel.
Yeah, I saw that.
Mike Finnegan. Yeah.
Shush. Yeah. So what about the arrangements?
That's all also between Tim and I would say.
Okay.
And he has a strong hand in the arrangements because he was laying down the backtracks, and also he is guitar, many layers of guitar, although there are other guitars on it as well. He was one of the principal and foundational guitars.
Yeah, for a moment it just glitched. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So you were saying guitars, different layers of guitars.
Yeah, but Tim's guitar was probably I would call it foundational guitar, and
I see.
of the basic tracks.
Yeah, because of course, like in terms of listening to the records, this is that kind of those kind of songs where you can like really feel that you went full around. It's one of those like smooth full-bodied songs where basically anything really is left to chance. So it's one of those really iconic, like I would say instant classics. That's a little bit the feeling that you have listening to these songs, and these only come when there is that kind of magic that happen. But you also have like top class performers. You need musicians that are that level in order to listening with your headphones. You can listen to all the details. Then it's like, okay, well, this here we are talking about really like state of the art basically. Very well. So in terms of when
Thank you.
I don't like in general too many labels, but especially in America we like labels because help us understand. But really listening to your EP, when somebody mentions your background with Americana, rock, New Age, Celtic, world music, really, to be honest, you get a hint of all these different backgrounds in your song. And I think what is amazing about specifically this is it's so iconic and so timeless. And in that regard, I'm pretty sure you find amusement in playing this genre. What is that gives you this amusement? In particular the joy of performing this music.
Well, I really love bringing multi-genres that I have explored my whole life. Now they are a profound part of my toolbox. Now that I can bring into this new form as a vocalist. I can weave in a little bit of Celtic and Americana and a little hint of jazz in the, Joni Mitchell Songbird song. It brings me great joy to be, to make the kind of fine tune the weaving of all these genres in a cohesive way that isn't, heavy-handed in any one of them.
I see. Okay, that's very important. And how you find yourself in putting your voice, like which basically is an additional instrument of yours. How was that?
That was again slow. I really was enjoying, like I said, not being a lead. But then when they stepped into it, I did take some vocal lessons. I had a really wonderful vocal coach in Hollywood for a while, and I still do a little bit of vocal training by myself. But it also took me actually starting to like my own voice, which at first I didn't. So it was also a process of not comparing myself to everybody else and saying, well, I'm not good as that or as nice as that, or I am now accepting that it is what it is, and it is different, and
it is good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, well, I think that it's important to reach that place, where, of course, at the beginning you are intimidated, so it's more that you are looking outside of you those benchmarks, and then at some point you say, you know what, this is who I am, and I don't want to be anybody else. This is who I am, and I want to be good at what I am. But that, you need that kind of experience that you had. You need that self-confidence, but you also need the right partners and the right system around you. Otherwise, of course, it's not easy. What is easy in life, but especially something like this. But this was it's really something to admire. That considering your incredible resume, you were humble enough to go basically to the process from Greenfield. You said, okay, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna take lessons, I'm gonna practice, and you took it slowly. I think this is very inspiring, because we live in the era of instant everything, right? I want to do something, I want to be good, and I want to be good right now. But unfortunately, that's not how life works.
Right, and also I am very critical, because I know what great vocals are. So I'm not saying I have great vocals. I am saying they're mine. That's all.
Yeah.
And that's why part of why the title is All of Me, right here, right now.
Sure. Okay, so let's go a little bit over the tracks. We said so the first release is going to be Dust Bowl. Why you decided to come out first with this song?
That kind of was a collective decision. Wrote it. I'll tell you the inspiration of it. But, the footsteps of Bob Dylan leading before him was Woody Guthrie. And he is a profound leader in American music and American history. And I actually went to the Woody Guthrie Center last April in Oklahoma. And it was a very moving experience. And I, of course, know the history of the first man-made environmental disaster in the U.S. was actually termed the Dust Bowl. So, but they gave you like a virtual reality experience of what it would be like if you were sitting there on your porch watching a 100-foot high wall of dust coming at you. And it was really stunning, and it, shook me up, and especially that I was remiss in not studying and not realizing that this didn't happen over a year. It actually extended over a 10-year period.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes. So then,
Yeah.
but I didn't want to make it all about 1930s, of course. So I brought the final lyrics to the present, because we're looking at many environmental challenges and disasters on a global scale now. So I bring it up to the present in the last verse.
Yeah, it's somehow the unfortunately the history repeats itself. That is somehow tragic. That we seem very stubborn in not learning from our mistakes. It's like we have these basically recipient, this container of knowledge, which is what we did wrong and what we shouldn't do again.
Right.
But it seems like it's like a candy ball, but the candies are poisonous. It's like it looks good, but ultimately can kill you. And yeah, I think it's a it's never enough to remind it and to tell people this happened. This is not fiction. This is this is not like one of those Hollywood disaster movies. This happened, and it should never happen again. But what we are actually doing to have something like that not happen again. Okay. Well, so this is somehow sets a little bit, of course, not a little bit, but it sets the tone of what you were calling the social relevance and the social impact of this work of art that is the EP. And before we go to Lady Liberty, also there is the song "All of Me" that gives the name to the album. So, why you choose that song to be the one giving the identity of this album? Besides the fact that you said this is all of me, this is who I am. But yeah.
Well, it's that was actually the first song I wrote for the album. That was how it all started. And I also speak in the lyrics about all the mistakes I've made and the winding roads, and it's something I think everyone can relate to, and how those winding roads that we take lead us to each of us to who we are right here, right now.
Yeah, what I found interesting, because they always say this kind of thing that you have to be somehow melancholic or nostalgic about the past. I personally never been. This thing that the crisis of the 30s, the crisis of the 40s, the crisis of the 50s. I always enjoyed my time to the fullest and try not to have regrets. And I'm happy I'm older, because I did many stupid things, and now of course I keep doing stupid things and mistakes, but it's always a little bit less or a little bit better, and also it isn't it interesting that sometimes you do something in your life, it seems to you a mistake, but then when you stretch that experience over the years, you actually realize that maybe that wasn't a mistake after all, considering how things turn in life. Can you relate to that? This is something that you think has some truth?
Oh, absolutely. And I walk into situations like that, and I continue to do so every throughout my life to put to the present. And again, time tells us all, what those things what our choices reveal to us. Sometimes don't reveal to us in the moment. It takes a bit of time.
Yeah, and I think it's important again, especially for again in this time and age, where really to some extent each generation is responsible for its own fate. For some other extent, of course, they inherit what they got, but there is some, this urgency in terms of, fast pacing your life and not taking a break, that I think it's important to listen to somebody like you, that yeah, that life is that kind of trial and error process, that it's inevitable, and try to take the most out of it, but do not reject it. Give yourself the space and time to make mistakes, but but be mindful, right? About, I think it's important, as a man. What do you think?
I do. Yeah, it is a learning process. Life is always like a schoolhouse for us.
Yeah.
And, no matter how much we think we are masters, and we finally arrived, there's always one more obstacle or one more situation that challenges us at all times, around the corner. So we are, perpetual students.
Yeah. Last but not least, Lady Liberty, you said that embracing the heritage of Bob Dylan is to also be true to yourself in your social involvement, in being aware that as an artist, you are you have the privilege of being on a public stage, of having the possibility to get your message out there.
Yeah.
And social means, popular. Social means related to the people, that somehow goes beyond the contingency, the politics, the interest. Social is about the people, and that's why, I mean, at that time, having Bob Dylan with his ballads, that was really, and the folk genre, everything came out. Of course, nowadays we know, everybody knows what that represented, but you want to perpetuate and be true to this legacy. And in particular, I think Lady Liberty for you is an important moment.
Oh, absolutely. That was one of the landmark songs that I could not keep silent about. And I wrote those lyrics 1 month after the U.S. election, or what I could also be called a hostile takeover of the White House.
Okay. Okay.
And because it was not exactly a fair election, and so much of what I knew and felt was coming hit me like an avalanche of dread about what kind of freedoms we would be facing that are going to be crushed in a relatively short period of time, because of this turn in American history. And I wanted to. It just came to me that the best analogy of it, or symbol of it, would be Lady Liberty weeping, about what is about to happen to this country.
Yeah, because symbols are important.
Yeah.
Symbols are key. Symbols allow you to identify with the roots of what really makes you. So, which I found extraordinary, that that something that it's not just an inanimated object.
No.
Becomes a force, becomes a vibration, becomes an inspiration. And yeah, so in particular, imagining your listeners, imagining the people who listen to these songs, and in particular to Lady Liberty, what is your heartful message that you really want to tell with this song?
That whether it's America or any other country, our human rights and liberties are precious, and they are not to be taken for granted. That the environment, the air, the land that we breathe, it could be poisoned, against our will and our knowledge, and that is, the rainforest being just mowed down and the animals destroyed around the world. This is something that is happening against many people's wills, and wherever you are, this is the social justice for one person or 1 acre or one endangered species or wild native species is critical to the future.
Because I think that
stand up for that. It's worth standing up.
Because the bushfires in Australia proved that we have this idea that, I mean, to some extent, of course, nature is much more powerful than mankind. So nature finds the way to basically restart. But sometimes when something is gone, it's gone. we have this idea that but in case we take care of it, it's gonna come back. Sometimes it doesn't, and when it's gone, it's gone. It's really gone for good. And
exactly.
I heard.
I'm alarmed. I'm extremely alarmed by what has happened to the Amazon rainforest and Australia. And
because I heard that the koala bears are almost technically extinct. That's what I heard the other day. Which I said, wait, what? And then I look into it and they say, it's like now it's so they don't know at the moment what is the situation because they're still assessing what happened. But according to the scale and the statistics and the analytics they have, they said, well, we might have to the point to be, maybe we can keep some of them in the zoo, but I don't know. They don't know. They really they need to see, which something like this in my timeline, in my lifetime is something like what?
Yeah.
And this happened like in 2 weeks. So I get it. I get it that the urgency is not perceived. The urgency is real and surely is a way to bring awareness. Hopefully. Okay.
Yeah, the last lyrics of Dust Bowl were that about the silent voice. Salvation could be fading. Salvation could be fading. Wild voices crying as they disappear. And those are the voices of the tropical birds and all of the creatures of the ecosystems of the entire world really are crashing around us, and that's one of my other passions is nature and the wild creatures, and I think they're not something to be taken for granted. Their beauty and their existence are magical, and so that's perhaps another song for them.
Well, Scarlett, I think that well, I'm glad that you made up your mind and found the spirit in order to make this project happen because especially these days we need good music first of all, and then we need also with your kindness, but the power of positive messages. And I think it's very important, and I think it's an amazing way again to pay homage to the legacy that you contributed in building and creating, and now you are carrying it on. So I want to thank you for doing this, and also for agreeing for this time. And
you are welcome, Joseph.
yeah, no, it's really for me it's an honor and a pleasure, and I'm happy if I of course I can contribute in in being like another voice in presenting these efforts of yours, which I'm sure is not going to be the only one.
Oh, thank you so much.
No, yeah.
Joseph, are you in New York?
Yes.
Are you in New York?
I live in New York.
What part of New York?
Well, now I'm in Staten Island because I got married last year, and so from Brooklyn we moved to more like a quieter residential area. Also, being Italian American, most of my family moved from Brooklyn to Staten Island, so most of my family is in Staten Island, and so I think I can stop the recording, and then we can keep the recording.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see.